General Assembly of the Tennessee YMCA Youth and Government will come to order for the purpose of attending a joint session. Will the schools present please sound off so that your attendance may be noted?
Beach High School of Hendersonville, Tennessee is present for the 68th Youth and Government Conference.
Centennial High School of Franklin, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference.
Hardin Valley Academy of Knoxville, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference.
Hey guys, my name is Jeb Wells, and this is the Lausanne delegation from Memphis.
Michael Buziak.
Hi, I'm Michelle from Lausanne Collegiate School.
I am Caden Myrick.
I'm Amalia Pompey Van Meerdervoort.
Macaulay School of Chattanooga, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference.
Ravenwood High School of Nashville, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference. Woo!
St. Cecilia Academy from Nashville, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference.
St. Agnes Academy in Memphis.
West High School of Knoxville, Tennessee is present for the 68th Annual Youth and Government Conference.
The joint session attendees have been noted. I hereby declare the joint session of the 68th Annual Tennessee YMCA Youth and Government Conference now in session. We will now pause for the reading of the Star-Spangled Banner by this year's unopposed candidates.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight,
and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave
over the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee for a brief welcome message.
Hey everybody, Governor Bill Lee here. Welcome to the 2021 YMCA Youth and Government Conference. Thank you for your dedication to civic engagement. It's incredible to see your passion for learning about and participating in government. As you gather together virtually, I hope that you find inspiration. As you listen to your peers, participate in debates, and interact with others who care about making Tennessee the best state it can be. I trust you'll use this experience to become responsible and engaged citizens in your communities, and I know that you will make our state proud.
At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce this year's Youth Governor, Jackson Hoppy, to give his State of the State address.
Representatives, justices, distinguished lobbyists, and press corps. Thank you for all being here at this year's 2021 Youth and Government Volunteer Conference. Thank you for logging onto Zoom and taking the time to participate in the second virtual volunteer YIG. We aren't downtown at the Capitol, and this is disappointing, but it is the right course of action amidst this raging pandemic. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, with vaccinations increasing every day and hospitalizations on the downfall. But what has been most amazing to me is how we can come together and address the critical issues facing our great state. We live in an incredibly divided world, and YIG is a place where we can come together and find solutions to change not only Tennessee, but the world. As I'm speaking, we are taking our state down a new path of progress and into the future. We are overcoming obstacles and making our state a better place together. We are changing it together, and we're heading into the future at full speed. As Fleetwood Mac put it, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. The state of Tennessee, amid turmoil, a pandemic, injustice, and natural disasters, is strong. These forces work hard against us, but we work harder and better. When I ran for governor last year, I ran with a simple campaign slogan: he's working for you. And that is exactly what I and my amazing GovCab are doing. We are fixing the state's infrastructure, healthcare, commerce, energy, education, and justice system to benefit every single Tennessean, regardless of background or origin. I would like to elaborate on what the cabinet is doing in these crucial policy areas to ensure prosperity for our state. Firstly, infrastructure and transportation. Tennessee is one of the fastest growing states in the nation, with record-breaking growth year after year. Unfortunately, Tennessee's infrastructure can often become overwhelmed by the sheer amount of growth, resulting in increased safety hazards and congestion throughout the state. Simply, much of Tennessee's infrastructure needs to be updated, and certain legislation must be adapted to make Tennessee's transportation network safer for everybody. For this reason, we are supporting Red House Bill 21-1-2, a proposition to renew dilapidated speed limits. This piece of legislation will specify speed limits and give the Department of Transportation the flexibility to adjust speed limits as necessary, being a critical step in managing traffic flow. Additionally, we express our support for the combined effort of the patrons of Red House Bill 21-2-1 and Red House Bill 21-2-5 in an act to require road testing on the renewal of driver's licenses over the age of 70 years old. This bill combines the bills of the aforementioned patrons. While pretty self-explanatory, this bill will mandate persons over 70 years old to retake a road test every 3 years when renewing their license to ensure that all drivers on the road are well in their ability to drive safely. Next, healthcare. Access to reasonable healthcare plans is a major issue for many Tennesseans currently, as many have become delusional with what they see as predatory business practices. The number of Tennesseans currently insured amounted to 468,096, 6.9% of the population, according to estimates from 2019. And it is likely that the number has only increased since then. Clearly, we need to make drastic changes to how Tennessee handles healthcare, as our current legislation and systems aren't just cutting it. It is for these reasons that I have chosen to endorse Red House Bill 21-1-3, which aims to end surprise healthcare billings that aren't covered under their insurance. With the implementation of this bill, Tennesseans will be able to quell their fears and place greater trust in their healthcare providers. Similarly, I have chosen to endorse Blue Senate Bill 21-1-1, which aims to provide maternity and paternity leave to workers in the state of Tennessee. Most importantly of all, I am choosing to endorse Blue Senate Bill 21-3-1, which we have dubbed unofficially Hoppy Care, which aims to reform Tennessee to cover far more people than it ever has before. This bill will increase the number of people covered under TennCare by over 350,000, reducing the number of uninsured Tennesseans by nearly 80%. These are vital and significant changes that will improve the lives of many Tennesseans who need the help we can provide. Hopefully, with the passage of bills like this, we can begin to mend the rift between Tennesseans and Tennessee's healthcare industries and move towards a completely insured and more healthy Tennessee. Next, commerce. Looking at how to improve our state's economy for the future post-pandemic, I have decided to endorse Blue House Bill 21-1-6, an act to legalize marijuana. By this piece of legislation, I hope to add a new source of revenue for the state by taxing the sale of marijuana at 9% rate. This type of proposal has also been implemented in other states such as Colorado and California, and has generated sizable amounts of income for these states. By legalizing marijuana, we can open up new ways for the state to generate revenue without raising other taxes, such as the sales tax. By passing this legislation, we can also help to rebuild Tennessee's small businesses after the COVID-19 pandemic ravaged many small businesses across the state. To help Tennessee's existing small business to recover, I am also working with the Department of Revenue to ensure that COVID relief payments are not counted against these businesses that desperately need this money in its entirety. This resolution will help small businesses take the first step to recovery as they try to find their footing in a post-pandemic world. Not only does this proposal save small businesses money, but in the long term, it generates the state money, as more robust small businesses will pay more in taxes to the state. Not only this, but the projected loss in tax revenue from this proposal is minimal, with an overall reduction in revenue only costing around $1 million, which is minuscule compared to the $455 million drop in revenue from businesses due to COVID. All in all, by passing these two proposals into law, I will be pursuing a commerce policy that makes dollars and makes sense. Regarding energy and environment, the inhabitants of Tennessee deserve to have a clean and safe environment. To provide this, the administration has taken steps to protect and conserve the natural environment of Tennessee. One way we have begun to take steps to prevent pollution within the state of Tennessee is to cut down on plastic use in the state. The rivers within the state of Tennessee are some of the most polluted in the country, mainly due to microplastics from the items such as plastic bags. Therefore, I would like to endorse Blue House Bill 21-5-2, as this bill will end the use of single-use plastic bags. This bill will cut down on the use of plastic within the state of Tennessee, curbing plastic usage by 85%. My administration has also chosen to endorse Red House Bill 21-2-6, as this bill will reduce carbon emissions through a cap on carbon and trade program. Tennessee is ranked 18th in carbon emissions out of the states and territories of the United States. This bill follows the UN guidelines on carbon emissions reduction and has no fiscal impact on the state of Tennessee. In passing these two bills into law, the environment of the state of Tennessee would continue to be protected and conserved. Considering education, the students of Tennessee deserve equal access to good quality, well-rounded education. For several reasons, this can be a challenge that I intend to meet head on. This is why my fellow cabinet members and myself have chosen to endorse Blue Senate Bill 21-2-3, an act to establish a joint oversight committee on HBCUs and majority Black schools in the state of Tennessee. Because this bill will establish a committee whose purpose is the advancement of education, opportunities, and funding for education in primarily Black schools across the state. This bill will also help to rectify problems that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, as the Black community has been adversely affected by the crisis. Race should not be a barrier when it comes to academic opportunities in our state, and this bill will be a step towards breaking down that barrier. Additionally, we are endorsing Blue Senate Bill 21-4-2, an act to increase Tennessee public school teachers' annual salary by $1,000, because not only do teachers work tirelessly to deliver education to the students of Tennessee and deserve this pay increase, but further because higher salaries will draw more high-quality teachers to the state of Tennessee, improving the education provided to our students. Particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, teachers need to be properly compensated for the work that they do. Next, to ensure that students in Tennessee have access to an all-inclusive, comprehensive sex education, we are endorsing Red House Bill 21-4-5, an act to require LGBT+ inclusive sex education in secondary public schools. This is a comprehensive bill ensuring that a variety of types of relationships, the importance of consent, and factually accurate information regarding the risks of drug and alcohol use, as well as STDs and STIs, are represented in the sex education curriculum. All the students deserve to be well informed by the education provided to them. This bill is a step in that direction. For the safety of our students, this bill is vital. Finally, justice reform. At the heart of this administration is my goal to make Tennessee safer and more just. One of the easiest ways to do this is by reforming our justice system to focus more on reducing recidivism. To do so, our justice system must focus on reforming convicts rather than just punishing them. Two bills in particular achieve this goal. I support Blue Senate Bill 21-2-2, an act to reducing recidivism. This bill provides both therapy and literacy programs, giving them a better shot at achievement, mental stability, and getting a job once released. Similar programs in other states have had huge success in preventing repeat offenses. Beyond making our great state safer, this would also save Tennessee taxpayers money. If only 17 inmates who otherwise might have reoffended don't, this bill would more than pay for itself. I would also like to support Red Senate Bill 21-3-1, an act to automatically restore voting rights to felons after completion of incarceration period. This bill helps combat voter suppression and helps make sure that everyone can hold our officials accountable. We are also currently in the process of creating dynamic legislation to abolish the death penalty. This piece of legislation will get rid of a criminal procedure that's ineffective at reducing crime and has repeatedly killed innocent people. It is also a very financially sound piece of legislation, as life without parole is more financially efficient than the death penalty itself. Finally, it is unfortunately true that substance abuse disorders and the corrective system are deeply intertwined. There are estimates that 65% of the US prison population has a substance use disorder, and even those that don't quite meet the criteria for a substance use disorder, some 20% were under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of their crime. Yet there is very little official communication between the DOC and the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. To that end, I propose a joint committee made up of members of the two departments and an outside analyst meet monthly. They would also have a $10 million research fund to allocate to find ways to best combat their shared issues. This would short-term increase the DOC's budget by less than 0.9%, and in the end, probably decrease it as recidivism and thus prison population fell. Before I end, I'd like to thank my entire governor's cabinet for all of the hard work that they've put in so far. We've got a long road ahead, but there is certainly light at the end of the tunnel. There is work for us to do. We are in the process of making a great budget that will change the great state of Tennessee for the better. As the conference continues, I encourage every single one of you to engage in debate and put yourself forward, something that I wish I would have done more of myself my freshman year in the Blue House. If any of you have questions, comments, or concerns about issues facing our state, please feel free to come forward to the cabinet and let yourself be heard. The future is bright, Tennessee. As said before, the state of the state is strong, and it's because of you all. Don't be afraid to unmute yourself. What you say could change the future. Let's keep a wonderful and productive legislative session going. Thank you, and God bless the great state of Tennessee.
Seeing that the business of the joint session has been concluded, it is in order that we adjourn. The joint session will stand in adjournment, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.